It's important to create boundaries in marriage. Boundaries where people cannot go beyond. First of all, even in marriage, we have to create boundaries for ourselves. For instance, what kind of boundaries are you creating between you and your wife? Why, for instance, should a husband read the messages on his wife's phone? Is that not a boundary that should be respected? Or for that matter, why should my mother-in-law feel that she's entitled to come into our home without being invited? Join me as I read from my book, Ada's Love Notes. The title of what I'm going to read today is We Went Shopping, but We Didn't Get Dinner. I recall with nostalgia and a tickle the day that Banji asked me to make amala for him. It was shortly after we got married, and we were in that first flush of married love. For those not very familiar with amala, it is the black pudding served with ewedu and gbegiri soups. A tantalizing top buzz for many taste buds. I can still feel my salivary glands oozing at the thought of the fried stew and bite-sized pieces of beef ladled on the ewedu that always made a depression in the mound of amala as I ate to my heart's content. I wanted to please him, to make my husband happy, but we did not eat amala in my family, so I didn't know how to make it. I had enjoyed the stuff at parties, but had never given much thought to how it was prepared. So I had asked my friend Shalewa to teach me how to make the stuff. She did. While traditionally prepared yam flour for amala is usually sold in the open market, Banji wanted to make things easy for me. So we went shopping at the local supermarket. He was not one for markets and couldn't have found his way to the open market to save his life. On my part, I wouldn't even know where to begin to distinguish between the raw native stuff and the one that had been adulterated. It was easier for both of us to buy from the supermarket store, albeit at a slightly more expensive rate. We bought the packaged yam flour, elubo it is called, going for what we felt was the best quality available at the supermarket. As for the ewedu, we purchased that at the vegetable store and bought the beef from Baba Muka, the meat seller stationed at the taxi park. We finished up and headed home with our shopping basket full of all kinds of stuff for the delicacy we were looking forward to. Only to get home to realize that we had clearly forgotten to buy ingredients for the stew. We had barely gotten home when we realized that while we had gone shopping, we hadn't bought dinner. I was very disappointed that I wouldn't be able to make amala happen for my husband that day. As a freshly minted wife, I wanted to be able to provide all of his stomach needs. I wanted him to prepare my food above all, to love no other pot of food the way he did mine. I was on the verge of tears, willing to make the journey back to purchase all that we were supposed to. But it was after hours. The shops were closed. Thank God for Yababatunde, our neighbor. After thinking about what to do to make sure that Banji got his beloved food, it suddenly occurred to me that she might be able to help. After all, she ran a restaurant. Mama Babs, as I fondly called her, ran an excellent Mama Put restaurant called Babatunde's Kitchen. I rushed to her canteen as she was closing for the day for a loan of stew ingredients. But bless her soul, she gave me stew instead, excess from that day's sales, heavily laden with beef, shaki, roundabouts, and all other kinds of offal. I held the precious little flask to my chest, imagining Banji eating rapturously. As I turned into our flat, I met my mother-in-law at the door. and we had our first war. She looked at the flask in my hands, the one that I had gone to such length and pain to get, with great disgust. As she snatched the food flask from my hand, she wore a smirk that made her a little less beautiful than she had always been in my eyes. I silently prayed she wouldn't spill my current treasure. She minced no words when she insisted on going back to her house to bring Banji food, not just stew, but proper food, as she was sure that I would make a mess of the amala. This stuff is garbage and my son shouldn't be eating it. You mean your mother did not teach you how to cook and look after a husband? I will send my driver now to collect food for my son and you can eat out of that also. After that, I will teach you how to cook Yoruba delicacies for my Banji. She looked me up and down as if the mere of her words should have splashed on me by then. Mama, please. Banji knows I can cook. I quit. I wanted to say much more than that. I wanted to tell her that she had no right to cook for my husband when she had hers. I wanted to tell her to kick her ass out of my doorway. But I was newlywed and just integrated into their family. If I would make more enemies in the family, I didn't want to start with her, though I realized she was certainly on the list. I was married to Banji. She wasn't. I was one who was supposed to fill his belly the same way she filled Baba Banji's belly. So I quietly asked Banji into the bedroom while she sent her driver back home to get the food from the cook and gave him two options. Eat her food and forget me, or eat whatever I have taken the pain to prepare, even in my inexperience. For a minute or two, Banji looked torn between us. I am sure he remembered the delicacies that came out of his mother's kitchen. I'm also sure that he wanted to sleep well that night, cuddle me, and perhaps he had the hope that some good sex would follow. Banji saw the light and did what I expected him to. He sent his mom, my mother-in-law, home in annoyance, telling her that this was our home and she should eat what, and we would eat what we have with us, as we would eat whatever she served in her own home. She lost the war and bore the loss with an undignified silence that night. What I didn't know was that it was a small war in the midst of a larger battle. What did Banji's mother really intend? She was interfering in their marriage. On that occasion, Banji did right. He created boundaries. He told his mother, "You have boundaries here. Go home. I will eat whatever my wife gives to me." But how many times do we remember to create such boundaries? That is the mother-in-law boundary. What about the boundary of the children? When they say they want to sleep in your bedroom and they spoil the night for you. Children must have their own bedrooms and they must learn to knock the door of their parents, because you could be in any condition, in any state when your children are coming in. I remember once I walked into my mother's room like that. I didn't knock, and they were not too old to be together. I was embarrassed and they were embarrassed too. And you know, the funny thing was, I wasn't even a child then. I had left school. I was in university, so I should have known better. Boundaries create confusion. It creates confusion. It just creates embarrassment for everybody. What about the boundaries when your marriage has broken down and you allow the man to keep coming back to sleep with you because you need money? Do you know that there are many single mothers who continue to sleep with the father of their child, just because they cannot see themselves in a new relationship. Boundaries help us to maintain our own sanity. Why do you want your life to be dictated by what somebody else wants? When something is not working and you both have accepted that it's not working, why do you want to turn yourself into a sex bag? The one that the man just knocks on the door, knows that, well, when I get there, I'll give her some money, or I'll give her whatever she wants in exchange for sex. Are you creating boundaries also at your place of work? Do you know, is there a pecking order? Do you understand it? Do you allow people to bypass their managers to come and talk to you, the boss? Do you know that you are not helping your own business when you allow that to happen? In everything in life, we must understand that boundaries help us to establish systems. They help us to establish relationships. And when we understand boundaries, we live happier lives in our relationships. So what boundaries do you need to create tonight? Who do you need to create those boundaries with? Who do you need to give a good talking to understand that they cannot walk all over you? Because believe me, when there are no boundaries, they attack your own self-confidence. They attack your own self-esteem. They're actually saying you do not deserve any respect. So today, establish your boundaries. My name is Aroke Omame. I love it when they call me Sisilawyer. Get in touch with me. Let's talk about boundaries.